So your call, if I'm hearing you right, is that this is probably going to get worse before it gets better in terms of DOGE.
Oh yeah, I mean JD Vance has pretty much said in interviews and said during this time, it's like, courts, schmorts, like, we're just gonna do our thing.
And there'll be some judges that stop things, et cetera, and who knows. But I've always been like, government should spend a lot less money, and we should be able to audit the government spending to the dollar. That seems like a very fair, unless there's like, and I understand, like, in order to run a company, you can't be taking opinions from the masses at all times. It'd be a disaster. You have to have executives make decisions without like painful populist comments at all times. However, you still have to hold people accountable, and we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Those things can both exist. That said, at least major line items and breakdowns, we should know versions of spending and fraud. So I think that's like generally directionally accurate, but it sounds like we're just taking everything with sledgehammer, and it's pretty awful.
I will say, as one example of something, generally speaking, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a good thing in that it makes some of these financial institutions a little bit less predatory.
Yeah.
Like
yes.
it does.
No, for sure.
And saying that is like an expense, it's like, I think they've generated more in fines than their budget is, and what happens with these financial institutions is that they do fucked up shit, and then they'll say it's like, oh, I'm gonna end up having to disgorge some of this back because I know this is fucked up what I'm doing, but I just sort of wrote it into the business plan.
Right.
Another similar thing, and this is one of the other things where you see the anti-institutional thing. It's like if you were to invest, some of you guys are gonna hate this, but if you were to invest in the IRS, it'll pay for itself many, many times over because there's like a lot of fraud and cheating out there, a lot of fraud and cheating. And then there are folks being like, defund the IRS. And you're just like, okay, like I get you don't like taxes because none of us like taxes. So that there are a couple of things that it strike me as ideological, honestly. Like, like there's just like this anti-regulation zeal. And so it's like, hey, let me kick the shit out of the regulators and get rid of them and like say it's cost savings, but really it's just I don't want to be regulated. And so then you're going to have like all sorts of more predatory corporate activity. And by the way, one of the examples that I've called out, which I'll return to probably, is like the legalization of online sports gambling. I mean, that shit's terrible for men. It's terrible for households. Yep. It's terrible for savings. It's terrible, And it's like we're doing it. Like I can't turn on ESPN without seeing, what I should bet on. Like it's just a harsher, more dog eat dog environment. And if you were the lead dog, the biggest dog, like, centibillionaire dog or whatever, you're just like, yeah, that's the way it should be. Like, who is this fucking petty bureaucrat to tell me how to, do my thing?
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm like a titan and you're this fucking mouse.
Bureaucrat, right? Well, everything you just said, there's you're making a rational argument against deregulation. You know what I mean? Like, and there are rational arguments against it. There's a reason we have regulations, et cetera. What I see out there from the left in particular is like, don't defund the Department of Education. And what they're saying is they're defunding teachers. You're defunding classroom supplies, et cetera. While at the same time, we're spending more money per pupil than any other country on the planet, and we're objectively getting dumber. Like our society is like literacy rates are going down. Like I go down the list, I do a lot of work in this space, and it's a hot mess. And you can say the same about veterans. Like they're defunding veterans and healthcare workers that are helping our disabled veterins. Yes, that's true.
And this is my complaint about what's happening right now. To your point about one extreme, the other, blah 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 blah. It's like we have descended into an incoherent battle over dollar signs that really don't have any meaning to us.
That's a good way to put it.
And so what you'd want from the VA is that veterans get effective services and healthcare, and it's responsive, and we're delivering obligations. Is that happening?
No. I mean, we spend maybe a lot of money on veterans, and it's actually not a money problem; it's a bureaucracy problem.
Yeah. So the anger in American life is that we have these unaccountable bureaucracies that don't deliver, whether it's like the school or the VA or whatever it is. And so I'm super mad. And so now I'm going to get revenge by trying to choppy, cutty.
Vote for your Elon Trump.
Yeah. Right? And what you want really is like you want them to be able to deliver. You want them to be able to deliver
accountability and deliverable.
on like a reasonable budget.
Yep.
But we can't have that. So now we're reduced to let's
we have nothing.
Let's
To your
blow it
point,
up.
we have no.
And then the Democrats are like, no, you're blowing it up. And then some Americans are like, this shit hasn't been working for me and mine anyway. It's like, so
might as well
it's
blow
like,
it up.
yeah. So like I'm actually kind of here for it. Is the reception. And by the way, it's very, very difficult because I've given this some thought. It's like what you'd want is someone to get in and be like, okay, guys, I'm going to try and make this unaccountable bureaucracy responsive, efficient, and the rest of it. And to Trump's point or Elon's point is like the machine will try and kill you if you do that. Like if you were to go in and be like, hey, I'm going to figure out which of you are awesome and which of you suck. I'm going to try and make it so that the awesome among you get, raises and promotions and the crappy among
But
you
a talented person in
get
charge.
shown the door.
It's
It's like I couldn't even finish these sentences before they would try and get me, And so that this is one of the reasons why we are where we are is because people sense on some level that and then this returns us full circle to like the Elon way is the only way because like you're going to have to like and this is Elon's argument I think he's making explicitly. He's like, this is our only chance. We don't do it now, it's never going to happen. Once in a lifetime, once in a generation opportunity to break the back of the bureaucracy.
And the problem is, one, there's a lot of damage in doing that process, but two, what happens 10 years from now? Sort of these processes are all blown up. Who's when Trump's dead or whoever it is over time, who's in charge now?
Yeah.
Like my biggest fear is like an actual stupid bureaucrat doing the same thing Elon's doing and doing it probably more destructively in a way.
One thing that a number that came out is that 40,000 people took the buyout offer. For the government, it's about 2% of the.
Oh wow, it's low.
Two million employees.
This was Ezra Klein's point. A lot of federal workers are staying to.
And a lot of them also just like, I don't know if this offer is real, and like let me write it down. So the thing is, now look, do I think the federal government's bloated 100%? Do I think a lot of them could disappear from their jobs tomorrow and no one would skip a beat or whatever, like no one would miss anything? Yeah, totally. But the issue is that somewhere in these 2 million are some people who are actually doing something very, very important.
Yeah, like nuclear plutonium management, things like that.
Or
uranium.
Yes. Or
I read the fifth risk. It was like there's some real government jobs that are
pandemic mitigation, or the one issue of the day is like FAA. It's like trying to keep the planes from crashing and stuff. So the issue is you don't know if who's indispensable. So if the government is like most every other organization, which it is, there are some awesome people in there doing like great things and doing a lot of the lifting.
Islands of excellence.
And then a bunch of people that are completely dispensable. Yes. The thing is, you don't know which is which. It was my argument, and so. Right now, they're not even trying to figure out which is which. And that was part of this USAID thing. They were like, hey, we're going to vet which programs are good and which programs are bad. And then they're just like, no, we're actually not.
We're going to get a problem.
Yeah. And so there was a period when the USAID workers were like, okay, well, my program's good. Yes. Like, let me show you. And then they would send messages into the void and then receive nothing back. And then it would dawn on them, it's like, you actually are not going to vet. Like, you're just going to.
This is what you're seeing you're talking about the politicization of this, where you're going to see Republicans back channel, like, don't cut my stuff.
Which is why these things have never been cut. Because the truth is, if you are, Republican or Democrat, it's like, you know what you kind of want? Jobs at your local university.
in your district. A lot of jobs.
Yeah.
A lot of money, a lot of visiting, a lot of football, all the things.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Please do hit like and subscribe and hit that bell if you want to be notified every time a new episode drops. Thank you.